Thank you. There's a lot to unpack there, huh? So I'm going to go over all of it, and then you guys can ask me the questions that you have. So I kind of made notes as we went along, so I'll talk about some of the stuff with them as far as storing it, taking, being able to collect it. And then I'll go down some of the interstate stuff that they talked about. I'll talk about the any liability they have. I'll also talk about the FDA regulations, what codes specifically regulate that, kind of how we fit into those. And then you can answer my questions, or then you can ask me any questions from that. So it's about informed consent, and I'll start again that we're not challenging the safety of it. That is not the concern here. I'm not saying it's not safe. I'm not saying that it's going to harm anybody, and I think that's kind of where the bill falls in at. I know that they mentioned about travel in-state or out-of-state. So from our last testimony in the House, we heard that they opened 7 donation centers across the country. 2 were in Idaho because we donate so much blood. So in the testimony that we heard from the hospitals at the beginning that said we would be out of blood completely, but then we heard from the Vitalant director who said that we'd have so much blood that they'd have to store it in separate places, that they'd have to have extended staff. They'd have to, so you can't have both. It doesn't work that way. The other thing is when they talked about the FDA requirements, the FDA sets the floor, not the ceiling. And I'll go over that again. The bill is not asking them to store it in separate locations. It's asking them to label it. If they don't have it, they don't have it. They can't use it. As far as interstate travel, if we send it to another state, the state can do one of 2 things. They can pass the same bill, and they can address it. They can allow their citizens to choose, or they can disregard the label on the bag. When they send the blood in, it'll be marked as unknown. That solves the interstate problem. Let's see. Liability. They said they can't, they could be held liable if they label the blood and it does have something in it that they say it doesn't. They're liable for the blood anyway. That's not going to change their liability. They said that they can't test for it. The FDA says, we believe it's safe, so we don't offer a test. I agree with you. I'm not trying to challenge that. And so, for me, it's just about asking a question. They said about 50 questions. The testimony from the House side said there was 54 questions. So is 55 what they call it? It's just too many at 55. They can't ask one more question. And then I'll go into the FDA regulations, what oversees that, and then how we kind of fit into it. So as far as the FDA, you have the FDA's covered for blood donations. You have 21 CRF 606-121, 606.122, 610.40, 630.10, 606.170. And so that's the Red Cross. So I'll go in and I'll kind of address how we fit into each of those. So as far as 630.40, which is directed donations, the FDA rule, it says it permits donors to designate recipients if the blood is safe and compatible, showing the FDA tolerates patient-driven allocation when feasible. So how does HB 131 fits in by extending this principle to a vaccine-based preference operating as a state-authorized variant of directed donation, if available. So if it's available and in a non-emergency, the limits ensure it does not disrupt safety or the supply, and that aligns with 630.40. It's a practical approach. So then when we look at 21 CFR 600.3, the intent, this ensures a safe, uniform blood supply. How do we fit in there? It fits by preserving safety. No blood is deemed unsafe, and adapting uniformity to local needs. They're using the FDA's operational leeway. It respects federal goals while adding state-specific features, avoiding direct conflict. Why does this, and why this argument works? The flexibility in screening. 630.10 is an open-ended history collection, lets House Bill 131 add vaccination questions without changing the safety outcomes. Again, we're not challenging the safety. They say it's not safe. We agree with them. If you look at choice precedents, which is 630.40, directed donation model supports House Bills 131 patient request right as a compatible extension. So this gives us state leeway. The FDA sets minimums, not maximums. House Bill 131 fits in as a permissible state layer, like stricter local health codes, right? So we can add our own health codes over what they say. And then we're going to get into the screening, a donor questionnaire. So a donor answers FDA questions like recent tattoos, plus Idaho's mRNA vaccine history. This fits into 630.10's process. Blood labeled A+, expires 4/5/25, gets a V sticker, and that fits into 606.121's extra info clause, V for vaccinated. So this, you can see how, and I can keep going if you have any other questions, but we fit within the codes that the FDA sets. I think that we're not challenging the safety. We're allowing them to disclose it, and then we're allowing them to choose. And I think we should be okay with that. People have concerns, and we shouldn't downplay their concerns. And I'll leave open that for any questions that you might have.
Senator Shippey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Bruce, thank you for being here and presenting this bill. I guess I'm just thinking through this a little bit. When I used to work with a seed company or at a seed company, and it was very, very important on the labeling that we couldn't mislabel it. It had to be verifiably what's on the label. And so my understanding is that there's not currently a way to verify the vaccine status, so it would require the patient or the donor to disclose that. There was a Canadian study in Quebec that revealed that about 96% will say that they received the vaccine, but that other 4% apparently will either forget or not tell the truth or whatever it might be. So that is 4%. So it's not a 100% surety that it doesn't have. So I'm wondering if there was a label, it would have to have a disclosure on it. It seems that it would something along the lines of this blood may not may not have been vaccinated. This donor may not have, and it seems to me it would have to have some sort of qualification to it, and no labeling as an absolute on this until there's a way to absolutely verify. So it seemed like there would have to be a qualification there. Am I thinking correctly there?
Well, I think
Representative Bruce.
Sorry, Ms. Chairman. I think that's the discussion that you have when you label when you disclose the blood, when you go and donate it, that the doctor's going to have. Like, this is a disclosure. We're not guaranteeing it because you can't, because they don't test it. They don't have a test. They don't offer a test. So I think when they're going in to ask for the blood, there's part in that discussion that would allow them to. This is what the patient disclosed. And I think there is going to be some folks who don't know, who do know, but I think there are a lot of folks that do know, and it gives folks the opportunity to make that decision. So I agree with what you're saying, but I think that's going to be an end conversation.
Follow-up?
Follow-up. Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Bruce. So I'm understanding then it would be where if somebody has said no, you just wouldn't label it, but if they have said yes, then you would label that with the caveat that this was from them, right? They disclosed that they've received this, but we as an organization are not verifying that. Simply the donor has verified or has stated this, but we can't verify that's true. But otherwise, if it was, if there's nothing on it, then it just simply means that it hasn't been verified that that the individual was vaccinated, but otherwise they may be or may not be. And so it maybe offers a little bit of peace of mind to some individuals. I'm just trying to
Representative Bruce.
I'm sorry, Ms. Chairman. Ms. Chairman, Senator Shippey, I believe so, and I think those conversations would progress over time, right? When you say, hey, I would like to have blood from an unvaccinated person, well, the person who's going to set it up for you to get the blood can have that conversation. Well, it's a disclosure that we take at the initial onset of the application. So the blood that you're getting is from someone who has disclosed they did or did not have it. And I think you hit the nail on the head. It is a peace of mind for the person who's choosing it. But then again, I honestly think over time that with us being able to track the blood, I think like what you said with their study and the other study that we saw, I think we're going to see more come out in time, and it's a good idea to have some of those options up front.
Madam Chair.
Senator Wintrow.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Representative Bruce. I hear what you want to do, but I don't think we can, because here's the other thing I'm thinking. I'm not telling anybody if I've got a vaccine, and I may not even tell them if I had a needle or HIV. You see what I'm saying? And so they're going to have to test. They can't trust me. So my sense is a lot of people won't say if they got the vaccine because there's a lot of stigma around it right now, right? And so then if we're hearing from the blood folks, they can't test it and figure out if it is that way or not, then I feel like we aren't even getting at what you want because we can't test it and we can't mandate it. And the state cannot override the FDA rules. We don't set those rules, you know what I mean? And so I feel like maybe what you might want to do is have a group of people together with scientists and so forth to say, hey, how do we have these conversations moving forward to see if we can, appropriately help people understand what's in their blood donation, right? But I feel like after all the testimony now, I know, like, we just aren't equipped to do it because we can't test and verify if somebody's lying or not. You see what I'm saying?
Is there a question?
Representative Bruce. I think,
Mr. Chairman, was there a question there?
do you have a question, Senator Wintrow?
Am I off in left field there?
I think she's asking if there's,
Don't say that. Don't answer that. Never mind.
you can answer or not. There's another question down there.
Brandon will answer.
Senator Shippey has a question.
Well,
Or would you like to respond?
Ms. Chairman, Senator Wintrow, I understand what you're getting at, but I think folks who have taken the vaccine are proud that they've taken it. They would disclose it, unless maybe she works in different circles than I do, but folks who have gone and got it and folks who have not taken it would be proud to say that they haven't taken it.
Yeah.
So,
Madam Chair, just a follow. Senator
Wintrow.
Yeah, Madam Chair and Representative Bruce, right there, you just hit it for me, right? We don't know. That's anecdotal. That's an opinion. That's in my circle, your circle, right? And so what we need to do, because what my angst about here is I may need a blood donation. And this bill could impact even me in an emergency care, right? And so this is really personal to me. And I guess what I'm saying to you is I know a lot of people that are not going to disclose that. Because of the stigma and the conversations around it. And so again, even if we could, we can't test for it. And so I don't want to do anything that's going to jeopardize anyone's ability to get blood, especially if they're in an accident or they have a surgery or something like that. Because what I am hearing today, and I trust it, is that if we pass it, you can't comply with it, and therefore we're going to jeopardize our entire blood system. I think that's too great a risk. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
is there a question there?
Representative Bruce, I didn't hear a question, and Senator Shippey has got a question, I think. So I'm going to let him
Thank you.
ask you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and Representative Bruce. With all due respect, I do think that Senator Wintrow is right, that there has been a stigma in general, and I have met a number of folks who did receive a vaccination and subsequently decided they didn't want a booster because maybe it caused harm or they heard whatever it might be, and maybe they've changed their mind, they regretted it. I think they would be tempted to not disclose it. I don't know the mindset. The 96% which is a high percentage, was during the pandemic, and a lot of those folks likely were proud of it. But there were a lot of folks that were forced, whether in the military or other places, and they might not want to talk about it. If that is what we're relying on, I guess kind of here's where it comes down for me. If that's what we're relying on as giving peace of mind to people receiving blood donations, it seems a little bit like Russian roulette. Now I get it. It may be better than the way it is, where it's completely unlabeled, and so you just get what you get. So there might be a opportunity to get some blood from an individual that was not vaccinated, but until there's a test, it seems like that this is just it's unverifiable, and the only way to even properly label it is to simply say, when the donor was donating, they disclosed that they had not received it, and that would be the only, or that they had received it. That would be the only way, and maybe to some people that would be good enough. I'm just trying to think of like a professional protocol, how they would deal with that. I guess that's kind of where I'm coming to. I don't know if you could kind of respond to that.
Would you like to respond?
I'm-
It's up to you.
Well,
I didn't
I'm
hear a
not sure
question
that was
in
a
there.
question,
No,
Ms. Chair.
I didn't hear one either. Okay, thank you. Senator Zeiderfeld.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Representative Bruce. So I want to make sure that we're all clear. This is just saying that you would like to have a disclosure, especially for those people who are honest, to go and say that I have received the vaccine, for it to be labeled on that blood, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Representative Bruce.
Senator Van Orden, Senator Zeiderfeld, yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Follow-up?
Follow-up, more of a statement. First of all, I am really nervous about getting in an accident and having to get blood. I work really hard to live a really good lifestyle. I will state up front, I have not been vaccinated. I have not since probably 5 received any kind of vaccine. I take really good care of my body. I'm an excellent donor. But I think if I was to receive blood, I would want to at least have the option to say, I would like to have the blood that wasn't vaccinated. I know that they can't be tested, but you're still taking a risk that maybe I have a pastor friend in California that has received some blood and now has HIV because they missed that. I mean, it's always going to be a risk. But why not just allow us to have that disclosure for people that really would? I would go in there and say, I'm not vaccinated. And then they can put that on there, and, at some level, we're going to have to trust. And then I'm also thinking how President Trump fast-tracked the vaccine. Maybe we can fast-track a test that would help us to test that. And it would be a path forward. This would be a step going in that direction. And so with that, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay. Motion's in order.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that we send House Bill 131 to the floor with a due pass recommendation.
It's been moved by Senator Zeiderfeld, seconded by Senator Kaiser, to send House Bill 131 to the floor with a due pass recommendation. Would you like to follow up and finish?
I just wanted to say thank you for the time. I understand the broad concerns, but I think this is more of a state's issue. I don't agree that the FDA regulates us. Like I said, it's the floor, not the ceiling. And I think that we do fill those gaps with this bill. I think that the overall overall consensus of people who donate blood are honest. And I'd like to believe that our citizens are honest, and that we can believe most of the time in honesty. And I'm not sure what the last few questions were on this side, but I thank you guys for the time. And with that, I'll leave it with you.
Thank you. Thank you.